In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit. That third sector, the nonprofit, is what this show is all about. I'd like to welcome today my guest, Eric Marsh, Executive Director of Whitewater Valley Television. Whitewater, yes, community television. I knew I was going to put Valley in there. I don't know why I tried to do that.
Because a lot of people say Whitewater Valley.
Anyway, I'm excited, as you can tell, to have you as a guest on our show,
Thank
on
you.
our television station.
Yeah.
So, but there's a lot about, we were talking earlier, a lot about WCTV that people kind of have misconceptions about. So I'll be anxious to be able to give our viewing audience some basic information at the beginning of our conversation. And I know that there are some specific things that we want to make sure we talk about in regards to what's currently happening here.
Sure.
So, but I'd really like to start, Eric, with a little bit of a background of, I know one of the specific things we talked about is people would be surprised about how how old WCTV is, kind of why it exists, and kind of a basic purpose for what the jewel, the real true jewel that we have here.
Thank you. Whitewater Community Television actually was incorporated back in April of 1988, and it went on the air in August of 1988. And there was a board of directors of 7 people, and I pulled their names. Most of them I know or had known. Mary Kay Tolan is one, John Von Pine, Susan Silverstein, who still works for the City of Richmond in their legal department, Harold Haynes, Rich Cody, who is at Parallax,
Right.
Patrick Carney, and one of the reasons that we are here at IU East is that Charlie Nelms, former chancellor of IU East, was one of the original board members of Whitewater Community Television. They went on the air in August of 1988. Jim Russell, who is the radio TV instructor over at Richmond High School currently, was the first executive director.
Oh, how cool is that?
He was followed a year later by John Sherman, who actually came in as executive director, and John was, up until about a year and a half ago, the longest running employee of WCTV. He was with us for 24 of the 25 years that we were on the air at that time. But through that, a number of other people have come and gone. John Dalton was an executive director for a few years. He's now working for IU East. Ruth Mills was an executive director. Number of people have come and gone, but the idea is all the same. Most of us really like this community. We really want to be able to put out information about this community.
Yes.
And that's what public education and government access television is about. And a lot of people think of us as PBS, and we're not. PBS actually is something different, and if you think about it and think about most PBS stations, that's where you can find some very well-known name shows: Nova, Antiques Roadshow, This Old House, things of that nature. So there is a national viewing audience. They're almost like a network in individual areas. We're not like that. If you think about public education and government access television, it is very much about what's happening in the local area.
Yes.
You can find government meetings that really affect where you are, because it's town councils and city councils and things of that nature. So it's about local television. And none of them are the same. If you go to various places, public education and government access television stations, some of them are just government, some of them are government and education. We are a separate organization. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, which some of them are not. Some of them are part of their city or county governments. Some, if you go to Fort Wayne or down in Bloomington, they're actually a part of their library system.
Oh, that's
so
interesting.
we're not even all set up the same. The board of directors that I mentioned decided to make WCTV a not-for-profit organization, a 501c3, and we are.
And we also discussed a few minutes ago the fact that a lot of the people in our community don't realize that there are 3 separate channels, and that's kind of a interesting kind of phenomenon as well among public access television.
There are, depending on, again, the size of the town. If you go to Connorsville as an example, they have government access and educational access. They have some public access, but it's mostly government and educational, and they run it off of one channel. We're fortunate enough to have a public education and government access center, and through the years have expanded from one channel to 3. So those 3 channels are absolutely separate. We're channel 11, we're channel 20, and we're channel 21. So if you've got Comcast cable, you can view them on those particular channels. But we also live stream a lot of our programming.
And that provides a lot of local information. And I think that's a key piece here is that you said that this is all about local information, created with government information, educational information, and then the public station that or channel that we were talking about earlier that really you do not do a lot of programming with.
Right, and the station that as I've had a chance to go out and talk to people about, and I had a chance to speak to the Kiwanis Club a few months ago, and one of the things that I stress to them is, one, we're not the community's censor. That's not what we're here for.
Right.
We're actually here to help free speech along in this community. But of the 3 channels, Channel 21 is the one that people call the church channel.
Oh.
Because most of the programming, probably 90 to 95% of the programming on that channel are actually weekly church services. And it's easy for them to do because they have content every week.
Right.
But it is not the church channel. It really is the community's channel. And anyone who is a resident of Wayne County that wants to create a program about whatever it is that trips their trigger, if the members of the Kiwanis Club wanted to get together
Exactly.
and create a program about Kiwanis and what you do, you can do that. A place where you can learn how to use some equipment. That's part of what we do, is we help train. And you have a place for that to be aired.
That's wonderful. I think it's exciting. I know that there's a few things kind of on my mental list of topics that we wanted to make sure that we talked about. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about was what we're doing socially, social media wise, to get the word out, because that's part of kind of an issue or kind of a challenge that we have with public access television, is making sure we're getting the word out appropriately so that people know what it is that you're doing and how they can access it. So tell me a little bit more about some current social media types of initiatives that are going on.
We started pushing this because public access is only on cable, and they are required to offer to municipalities a channel or multiple channels, depending on what gets negotiated, for public education and government access. Not all communities take them up on it.
Okay.
Because they use public right-of-ways to string their lines, that's why they're required to offer those
That's
channels. Satellite does not do that. Satellite does not use public right-of-ways. They are not required to offer a channel, and they want no parts of us for the most part, because they would be giving up a place where a QVC or an ESPN or an ESPN 18 or whatever
Right.
it is could be placed, something that they would make revenue from.
Right.
So because we're only on cable, and because Wayne County is still somewhat rural, there are a lot of people who really just can't get it.
Right.
So we started there's a couple of things we started doing. A few years ago, with the help of the Wayne County Foundation, we put up WGTV Online, which is a video-on-demand site where we put government meetings. Again, for those who've never seen them, when we do a government meeting, it's gavel to gavel. There's nothing that we edit. So we don't try to tell you what to think or what you heard. You get to hear the whole thing. So we have a site where we've got really at least 2 years worth of meetings, Wayne County Council meetings, commissioners meetings, RP&L Board of Directors meetings, for people to be able to go and view. From there, people started asking about some of the shows like this one,
Right.
Third Sector,
Right.
which actually appears on our education channel. GTV Online is just for government, so we went to a YouTube channel. So now you can find full episodes of The Third Sector on our YouTube channel. The Next Page, Proudly We Served, which is the veterans program that we do. All of those you can find online. And of course, we try to live stream. I mentioned we live stream our programming, and if you go to our website, which is WCTV.info, you can find all 3 of our channels live streamed there. We have a Facebook page. We're also on Twitter, keeping people updated.
I love it.
So as we've built that over the last few years, we decided we wanted to get the word out to people that it's available. So we created this 30-second ad. I'd like to show it to you. We've been airing it on our own channels, and we'll be airing it across some other cable networks coming up. So if you don't mind, we'll take a quick look at this.
Thanks, Eric.
And the one thing that we want people to really remember from that is WCTV.info. First of all, that's our website, and .info is not one of the more common
Right.
endings that you find for a website. But if you go to WCTV.info, you'll be able to find an online schedule, because the schedule for all of our programming is there. It's basically a Google Calendar that you can go that describes what the episode's about. You can see the live streaming of all 3 channels, and you can reach our other social media sites. On the left-hand side, as you hit WCTV.info, you'll find a button that'll take you to our Facebook page. You'll find a button that will take you directly to WGTV Online. You'll find a button that will connect you to our Twitter feed, and you'll also find a button that will take you to our YouTube site.
Wonderful.
So all of that is right there on our website, WCTV.info. And you can also donate money on the right-hand side. There's a donate now button.
Great. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we always want to make sure in our conversations with our guests on this show that we provide opportunities for the community to get involved in whatever way they can by, volunteering, donating, all of those kinds of things. So we don't want to lose track of the fact that it is a nonprofit organization, and therefore donations are not just necessary, but they're appropriate to support this very, like I said, it's a jewel. It's a privilege that we have in our community to be able to have a voice, and you provide that voice for us. So this is this social media boost, I think, is so important, because I have had several people say that they don't have cable and they're interested in the programming. So I love the fact that I can use my Facebook page or whatever to promote what's going on here, and I appreciate that opportunity to do so.
Glad to do it.
Another way, kind of shift gears a little bit. I know that another way that that you all reach out into the community is through opportunities for internships.
Yes.
And the reason I say community is it's not, some people know that the television station is housed here on a college campus. So I think it would be maybe a little more understandable to have college interns. But that's not all that you offer here. So can you talk a little bit about that, Eric?
Yeah, in my 5 years here, we have had interns from IU East, Earlham, Richmond High School on a couple of different occasions, Centerville, Ball State. We have one right now this year from Northeastern, and we keep trying to expand those opportunities. There are a lot of young people in our community, either going to college or in high school, that have an interest in telecommunications. And we don't claim to be ESPN or anything big, but we are in a position to be able to give them some hands-on experience in a lot of different ways. The lighting in the studio, being able to do the editing of this and other shows, running camera for government meetings, or we do IU East sports. We do IU East volleyball and IU East basketball games. So they get the experience of running camera at a live sporting event. Music events, we've done Star Jeanette Legacy concerts where we've used camera operators. And it's not just cameras on tripods. When we do, as an example, the Salvation Army Christmas Party, which is a 4-hour live event. For the past few years, there's been a mobile camera up on stage, because especially when you get organizations as large as like the Test Drum Ensemble, there's 2-3 rows of kids. We want to try to get as much of that as we can. So there's a mobile camera that the last couple of years our interns have run. So they get the chance to be able to see what that's like and pick and choose what areas of this particular business interest them more. Are they more interested in camera work? Are they more interested in editing? Are they more interested in floor directing or something, or directing even a show like this? So we try to provide those opportunities as much as possible, and the students who are able to be with us for the full year really kind of enjoy it, because we kind of learn each other that first semester, and then we really kind of push them that second semester, and we've had some that have done very well, and a couple that have gone away to college have come back during their breaks. It just kind of knocked on the door and said, hey, I'm here for a week or two, do you need some help? And that's always really gratifying.
I think that's exciting. I love that fact that they would have an opportunity. They're not going to be cornered into one specific little type of task or job because of the variety of opportunities they would have, like you said, to do different things in regards to being here. And I tell you, there's just nothing better than hands-on experience when it comes to figuring out kind of what you want to do vocationally. So I just think that's exciting. If students are interested in that, Eric, what would they need to do?
If they're in high school, they probably need to reach out to their counselor or whoever runs internships in their program, in their school. Or they can always call us here, WCTV. Our number is 765-973-8488. At least once a year, normally in January or February, we run what we call a boot camp, just kind of a one-day, 4-hour training. And the last few years, we've geared that one particularly to high school students. So we bring them in, give them 4 hours on some basic lighting, using the studio cameras, using some of our field cameras, with the hopes that that will kind of trick them a little bit into maybe wanting to volunteer or wanting to be an intern. And we have had volunteers that were high school students that didn't do an internship. They just said, hey, I want to learn this, I want to do this. Really, over the last few years, we've had more high school volunteers than we even have college or adult, but we have them from various ages.
Yeah, and I would certainly encourage anyone out there that's at all interested, particularly high school or college students that are interested in anything to do with with the field of communications, to contact you about any type of volunteer hours, because we both know that it's the experience combined with the academics that really prepare somebody for the job market out there. So they really, and this is a great way to explore. A great way to explore.
Oh yeah, it really is. So. And they can create on their own. I mean, once they learn a little bit with us, they can continue to volunteer, or if they want to begin to create their own, that's what Channel 21 then becomes for, or Channel 20, the education channel. So they get to go those ways.
Wonderful. We spoke very lightly about you can donate and all that kind of thing, but there is an initiative coming up in the spring, is it?
Yes.
That we wanted to make sure that we talked about. So can we go that direction? I know I keep shifting gears on you, but I want to make sure that we're covering everything. There is a lot, and I just want to make sure we're covering there's lots of things. We talked about that. There's lots of things we could talk about, but there are a few topics in particular we wanted to make sure that we covered. So can you tell me a little bit more about the initiative coming up in the spring?
If people want to support us and they want to have a little fun doing it, we're going to be having our second annual 21 for Fun. That's coming up on Saturday night, March 28th from 7 to 11. 21, it's gambling, at the Holiday Inn, and we've got it sponsored so far by Reed Hospital and Healthcare Services. The Holiday Inn and First Bank Richmond have already come along and said that they would help us in sponsoring. We'll be looking for more sponsors for that. But it really is an evening of fun. We'll have some table games coming in, roulette, some poker, some blackjack.
In Wayne County, Indiana.
In Wayne County, Indiana.
How fun is that?
We've got an organization, Craps King Casino Entertainment out of Indianapolis, that comes in. They do a nice job. For those people who don't know how to play, and
there'd probably be a lot of us.
It's great because you get to interact with the dealers. This is not about winning something. Your ticket price, and I can't tell you what that is because we ask others not to do that, but we'll put that information out there, gets you a certain number of chips to play with. And you can go, and if you want to learn a game, you can sit, you can talk to the dealer will explain the game to you, and you get to play. It really is just about fun.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
So come out 7 to 11. There'll be a silent auction. We had one last year. Last year we also had Frank DeVito play, and it was just perfect.
And it sounds like a great date night.
Yes.
It sounds like a great grab your girlfriends and have fun night.
Grab your friends and come out. There was a group from IU East that came out and had a really good time. There were some political types there who were having a really good time. And it's just a lot of different people, and people that had never played table games like that before really just came, had some great food, some great entertainment, and had a really good time.
We need to take advantage of fun opportunities like that in our community and realize that there's lots of things to get involved in, and not only fun, but then obviously we'd be helping out a great organization. So I look forward to hearing more about that. Thanks. And watching for it on all the social media opportunities that we'll have. I'm sure that's a great way to share that information with our friends. Yes. So. One more shift, I think, to make sure, and I always want to make sure that we talk a little bit more about how people can get involved, but I know that there was a particular program that we wanted to focus on, get the word out a little bit more about, in Focus?
In Focus.
And so can we talk about that one a little bit?
In Focus started for us in May of 2014. It was a follow-up to a program that we had done for about 2.5 to 3 years with the Palladium item. It was PI Live. It was a weekly live public affairs program. The Palladium had to pull out because of some shifts in staffing, and we got asked by a lot of different people in the community when we would be bringing something like that back. And we were going, okay, we really need a break, but it was important.
And it's good to be that you knew that was a
we
desire.
knew that was something that people wanted. So we started it. We changed the time. It is Thursday nights at 6 p.m. It is a live, interactive program. We take your questions via email, via Twitter, or you can call them in. The guests vary. Sometimes it's just about social events or not-for-profit organizations and things that are coming up. During the election cycle, we work with the Chamber of Commerce, and they become candidates for them, so you get to actually ask the candidates questions. And we had a long line of them coming through, and obviously with the mayoral races and the municipal races coming up, we'll have those folks back in. We do it for both the primary and the general election. But In Focus is a program that's really, I think, important for the community. It's a great way to have a dialogue about a lot of different topics, and those topics can change. And if there's a topic you want us to try to get guests for, you can send us an email to wctv@iue.edu and just say, hey, can you do a show about this or that? And we'll reach out to some people and try to put it together.
That would be great. We're jumping all over the place, I know, but I always want to make sure that we, a couple of different things that we cover before we run out of time. Number one, a little bit more about how people can get involved in supporting and being engaged with, connected with WCTV. We said a little bit about donating and a little bit about the internship kind of thing. If people want to volunteer, what does that look like? What kind of commitment are they making, kind of deal?
The commitment that they make really is up to them. What happens normally is I run into somebody, I meet them, they come by, they give us their phone number, name, email address. We take them through some basics, if we can, about using a camera. And then I send out about once every 6 weeks a list of the events that we have coming up and how many camera operators or whatever that we need. And then people send me back an email and go, yes, I want to do this and this. Sometimes in that 6-week period, because of their work schedule or kids' schedules, they can't do anything. Don't worry about it. We run 12 months out of the year at a pretty good pace. So it really is dependent upon how much time they want. Some people do weekly things. We've got a volunteer, Steve Michael, who was our volunteer of the year. I mentioned In Focus. He's here every week for In Focus. Bob Jacobson used to be here every week for PI Live. Some people can only do one event a month or one event a quarter. Whatever it is that works for you, we can make work for us, because we always need people. We have a very small staff for 3 stations that run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So the staff burns out, so we need camera operators again, and you can pick and choose. Do you want to do a music event? Do you want to do government meetings? Do you want to do sporting events? We've got a little bit of it all.
That's cool. We only have a few more minutes, and I always want to make sure at the end that I provide opportunities for our guest. What have I not asked that you really want to make sure that our community knows about WCTV?
You honestly have covered a lot of it. I do want people to really know and understand that we are here for them. We are a not-for-profit organization, so we do need their support. You can donate, you can become a member, but if you're just looking for information, WCTV.info is the place to go, and that will take you to almost any information you need about us. And if you can't find it there, you can always give us a phone call, 765-973-8488.
One thing I haven't asked, which I like to do a lot of guests, how long have you been at WCTV, Eric?
I've been at WCTV for 5 years. I enjoy it greatly. I've had a chance to do a number of things in town. I came to town as a radio personality. I've sold cable advertising, managed a jewelry store. I put in a lot of hours with this job, as most of the executive directors of not-for-profits do. But I have to say, outside of radio, which was my first love, this is the job that I have enjoyed the most. I'm not in competition with anyone. I work with government officials. I work with the other radio stations. I work with the newspapers, and it is all about the community. And this is not home. I didn't grow up here, but I've lived here for about 27 years. So my daughters grew up here. This is basically the only home they know. So being able to get information out to the community, about the community, and engage them in what's going on is really fun and exciting, and I enjoy this job more than I have almost any other.
That's what I like to hear. One more time to make sure everyone gets it. If the first place they need to check for any information, they need to go to
WCTV.info. And that will take them to a lot of things, especially during the winter months. We put up on our Facebook page closing information, school closing cancellation information. We also have a closing tab on our website. So when we get a lot of businesses, other not-for-profits, Area 9, things of that nature closed for weather, you can find that information listed on our website. So WCTV.info is the place that you can go. That should help keep you up to date with what we're doing.
That's a good point there. I can't say thank you enough for joining me as a guest on our show.
You're welcome.
And thank you also for what you do in giving our community a voice. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on the Third Sector.